Hi everyone, greetings from NSN Hyderabad. And as you're aware, we are going through very tough times with COVID posing so many challenges on the healthcare sector, which is already stressed with the first phase of COVID. And the second phase has caught us all unawares with a huge demand for skilled professionals in the healthcare sector. So to learn more about how training partners are coping, especially training partners who are driven by the industry, we have with us Dr. Srinivasa Rao, who is the CEO of Apollo MedSkills. And as you're aware, Apollo MedSkills is the training wing of Apollo Hospital. So we are very privileged to have him in this talk today. Let's learn more from him about the present situation, the challenges, and the steps that are being taken by Apollo MedSkills. So welcome to this talk, Dr. Srinivas. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get started by learning more about how the entire industry itself is impacted, especially with the second phase in terms of the demand for skilled professionals.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madhuri, for inviting me for this session today and to speak specifically on the healthcare skill gaps. Yes, I think one of the biggest challenges that the pandemic has highlighted, apart from the lack of infrastructure and lack of certain basic resources like oxygen, I think the biggest challenge is also the lack of skilled resources in healthcare.
Right.
And this lack of skilled resources is seen across the spectrum of healthcare education, be it doctors, nurses, the healthcare managers, the allied health professionals, and the support workers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think across the spectrum, we have seen this shortage of skilled healthcare professionals. And if you see, as per the National Health Profile in 2018, so the India's public health spending was less than 1% of the country's GDP.
Mm-hmm.
And the country also has a very dismal ratios of doctor to population and nurse to population. It was around 0.7 doctors and 1.5 nurses per 1,000 people. And in India, it is estimated now that there's a shortage of 10 lakh doctors and about 20 lakh nurses, and close to 40 lakh allied health and support workers are required. So when I divide this 7.2 million and roughly divide it across the sector, so in the 7.2 million, which is 72 lakh shortage that we have today, about 40 lakh is at the bottom of the pyramid, which is the allied health professionals and the support workers in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have about shortage of 20 lakh nurses, about 10 lakh doctors, and others are the healthcare managers. So this is a kind of shortage that we are facing now. And world over also, you have this problem of manpower shortage. It's not just in India. So world over also, the shortages are, the numbers are humongous. And India is one of the largest supplier of healthcare human resources to the world. So
Right.
this opens up the need for kind of scaling up our healthcare skilling systems, the healthcare education system as a whole.
Yeah. And from Apollo MedSkills, how are you, kind of addressing this challenge in terms of, let's say, you have been delivering a variety of programs from DDU, GKY kind of programs to many other advanced skilling programs. So how are you addressing this capacity building challenge, so that you supply the skilled resources?
So Madhuri, what we have realized is at various levels, while we all know and we are hearing about the shortage of doctors and nurses, I want to highlight some of the kind of healthcare skills where there had been an acute demand over the last, from 2019 onwards, since the pandemic has struck. To name a few, there is a huge demand for phlebotomy technicians. So the phlebotomy technicians are the ones who collect samples, right? So with the scale of the RT-PCR tests to diagnose the COVID-19, then a lot of risk factor tests like D-dimer, IL-6. So there's a lot of demand for medical diagnostics that has come up. So there is a huge demand for phlebotomy technicians also for sample collection and also safe transportation of these samples to the labs. This is one trade. Similarly, medical lab technicians were in high demand. So a lot of diagnostic centers have approached us for hiring these medical lab technicians.
Mm-hmm.
And also a lot of hospitals are looking for them. Then we also have a very high demand that we have seen for home health aides and geriatric aides.
Right.
Particularly, you see, to attend to the healthcare needs of senior citizens and for attending to the patients suffering from acute and kind of prolonged illnesses at home. And because senior citizens have restricted mobility, and now patients usually don't visit hospitals for their routine issues. So the geriatric aides and home health aides, also we have seen a big demand from the industry. Then, of course, the telemedicine has become a new norm, right? Almost 65–70% of the medical consultations, the outpatient consultations are delivered through telemedicine now. And with sudden rise of these numbers, there was a sudden need for telehealth coordinators, particularly in rural India. In urban India, the IT departments of the hospitals were managing the telemedicine. But in rural India, to connect to a patient to a doctor, you need a facilitator. That's what a telehealth coordinator is. Then we've also seen a huge rise in the dispensing of medicines in the pharmacies. So there was a huge demand for the pharmacy assistants and pharmacy technicians also as part of this. So how did we address this need? So one is the students that we have trained close to across various schemes that you mentioned, whether it is DDU-GKY with Ministry of Rural Development or various schemes of National Skill Development Corporation and various social sector organizations that we are working with, like National BC Finance, National SC Finance, and various other state corporations. We have trained close to 68,000 resources. Out of that, we did a calling exercise. We've invited the students to come and serve in the front line. Some of the alumni have come forward. About 28,000 students were on front line. And for them, we did an upskilling program, particularly modules related to COVID management. And we have then brought them into the mainstream. Now, we really feel proud of our work that we did in the last 5 to 6 years, that so many students have been trained and now they are really boldly working, courageously working in the front line. Yeah. When I have to talk about the specific skills that were important during COVID, it was mostly demand driven. So at an allied health and also at a support worker level, so there were 4 demand areas, sudden demand areas, near term, immediate demand areas we have realized. One is a lot of hospitals, because they are overwhelmed, they wanted a large number of nurse assistants. So we have trained our GDAs, the general duty assistants, on some top-up modules specifically for COVID. These top-up modules are particularly on how to manage an infectious disease patient and how to use an oxygen cylinder, how to use oxygen concentrators in a home setting, and how to transport a patient in an ambulance. What are the precautions that need to be taken for the patient and for themselves, and how to identify where there is a bed, availability of a bed, because that was also, a lot of people were in panic. So addressing which call center to call, what to ask for, what are the vitals that they need to monitor and inform the hospital. So these are some of the top-up modules that we have built. We have actually built a 60-hour training program covering some key skills of COVID-19, and we have supplied them to the hospital. The second environment where there was a high demand was isolation rooms. There were many hospitals that have actually taken over hotels and built some temporary isolation rooms. The governments have also built temporary isolation rooms by converting some of the government infrastructure or schools into isolation rooms. In such isolation rooms, we have trained some of our healthcare resources, support workers, on how to monitor vitals in an isolation room, when to alert a doctor, when to transport a patient, how to counsel the patient attendants, like what are the precautions to be taken when you're transporting them to the hospital. So specific skills on isolation rooms and how to keep the room sanitized. So these are some of the skills that we have trained them on. Then the third demand area that we have seen is most of the hospitals were overwhelmed with calls. The calls that have hit the hospital call centers were very huge. And most of the hospitals, even the largest of the corporate hospitals, had call center seats of about 60 to 100. And the number of calls hitting these hospitals were over 15,000 to 20,000 calls each day, which is a huge number. I'm talking about scale across India. So in order to address these calls, counts in the patients, their attendants, we have trained some of our resources on kind of call center, healthcare support center executive program. And this is a 50-hour module that we have trained them on and deployed them in these health call centers or support centers. The fourth environment which we are preparing our resources is vaccination coordinators for the rural India. Now, India has taken up this mass vaccination across India, and today we are seeing a large vaccination drives happening in the urban side of India. But when we go to the rural India, there will be some inherent challenges, like the way we are registering ourselves on CoWIN platform. Possibly, citizens in the rural India may not open the CoWIN app and register themselves, so they may have to walk in with a Aadhaar card, and then they tend to register, right? For this, we have trained them on these administrative aspects of vaccination drives. The second area is how to load a vaccine and assist a nurse. The third area is post-vaccine observation. There's a 30-minute observation period, right? During that time, what to observe her. So we support healthcare workers who have trained by us. Now they know what are the observation factors during the observation time post-vaccine, and how to kind of deal with a medical emergency or deal with any adverse reaction post-vaccination, and how to transport a patient from the vaccination site to hospital if needed be. So these are some of the trainings that we have delivered to our students. So these are the four environments: hospitals, isolation rooms, healthcare support centers, and the fourth is the vaccination drives. So these are the four areas. Apart from this, we have trained a huge number of doctors on how to use ventilators, how to handle disasters, the pandemic management, public awareness creation, specific modules related to public health. So these are some of the trainings, and over 250,000 students or healthcare workers across India have registered on our programs. And most of these are driven by e-learning, which is quite new for us because most of our trainings were classroom-led training. So it was new for our trainers to deliver it online, but I think now they got pretty much used to it and they know how to engage the students online.
Okay, this is, I think, amazing to learn about the details. I'm really happy that you shared all the details, because this is giving us an idea about the level of skilling that is needed. That's one. We just keep saying, okay, isolation room, or there is a person who's taking care, but the person who's taking care also has to be safe and also has to safeguard whoever is, at the front or being a frontliner. So the way you have elaborated it, I'm really thankful, to get this much of information from you today. Along with this, I think there is a huge challenge for, I would say, mental health also, right from the doctors, nurses, the support kind of people. So is there any initiative, or how are you going ahead to keep us all, in good mental health? Because that's, I think, a very big challenge.
Absolutely, Madhu. So the mental health challenges are for the general population, and there are also mental health issues for healthcare workers themselves, right? Because they're working for long duration and highly stressed environments. So what we did is, for the healthcare workers, we have set up a kind of a support center which are manned by the psychiatrists and also by the telecounselors. We have started an initiative called Thank a Nurse. And in the Thank a Nurse initiative, one of the initiative is to provide mental health support to the nurses who are stressed. And also this is extended to doctors and other healthcare workers also. Apart from this, most of the mental health issues that have surfaced during this pandemic were predominantly depression, because most of them are because of fear and panic. Yeah. This has led to a lot of depression. And there is a lot of information also, because I think there's a huge information overload. So that has created a fear and panic, and that led to psychosis in some cases. So, but a lot of these cases are dealt very carefully over a call center. And whenever the patients require any hospitalization, then I think we have sent our ambulances to carry this patient. So we have a dedicated call center to actually address the mental health issues, both for the healthcare workers as well as the kind of general population.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so interesting to know and much needed at this point in time. And now going back to some of the job roles you were mentioning, which are in great demand right now, and looking at the current situation, I think COVID is definitely going to be longer than anybody ever thought about it. And none of us are able to predict anything at this point in time. So keeping this in mind, what would be your idea about how many, let's say, jobs that are getting created, and what would be, let's say, 5 or 6 or maybe 10 top job roles for which people can, start considering as their career option in the coming year or two or even more?
Mhm. Yes, so I'll classify this into a immediate need and also a mid to long term need.
Mm-hmm.
The immediate need, as I mentioned, was the need for phlebotomy technicians and kind of need for medical lab technicians, rise in the demand for geriatric aides and home health aides,
Yeah.
and the pharmacy assistants. These were 5 or 6 trades, and the telehealth coordinator. These were about 6 roles where we have seen a very intense demand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coming to the immediate need, very urgent need. As I mentioned, urgently, we require resources which are COVID vaccination coordinators. There is a need to, because for every vaccination center, you require about 11 resources. That's what we have mapped internally because we are doing large scale vaccination drives. This include kind of 4 kinds of resources. The first resource is the inoculator, who is a vaccinator. So today, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has published an SOP for vaccination drives. And this SOP has defined about 4 or 5 healthcare roles to be vaccinators.
Mm-hmm.
These are the doctors, nurses, Ayush doctors. Then you have pharmacists, which is a new inclusion.
Yeah.
And you also have medical and nursing students who can inoculate. Okay, so there is a need to train them, upskill them on this inoculation, but the vaccination and immunization techniques. The doctors and nurses, they readily know that because they do it routinely. But for other professionals, the Ayush doctors who have not done much injection-based therapies in the past, then pharmacists who have never done an injection, who have never given an injection in their lifetime if they were practicing in India. Similarly, the medical and nursing students, though they know, we need to sharpen their skills. So this is one area, the vaccinators. The second is the vaccination officer 1 to 4. Who are these vaccination officers? The vaccination officers are the administration, the officers who actually take care of administration side of things. Like, as I mentioned earlier, registering the patient on the CoWIN portal, verifying their Aadhaar card details, verifying their age profiles, and so on. The second, the role in the administrative role is also crowd management, because these are mass vaccinations. Generally, for these roles, the government has decided to engage the police, CRPF, Indian Army, and other security personnel. Then we have the post-vaccine observers, who are again clinicians, who are not necessarily doctors and nurses, but someone who it can be an allied health professional or a healthcare support worker who has an understanding about the adverse reaction. So this is one role that we are training. So the vaccination drives are resources required for vaccination drive is one big resource need. And if each vaccination site requires 11 resources, just imagine the scale of vaccination that is happening. So as per the Government of India's estimation, we require 2 lakh new inoculators, that means vaccinators. And you require about 3 to 4 lakh additional resources to manage the healthcare support workers to manage this vaccination drive. So we are trying to address that now. Similarly, as I mentioned, the immediate need is there for the hospitals to support nurses. So there's a huge demand for the nurse assistants. Then another trade that is under very high demand, which I didn't mention earlier, is emergency medical technicians, the EMTs, who are transporting patients in and out of from the ambulances, through the ambulances to the hospitals and back to homes. So these EMTs are also in great demand, both in managing acute emergencies at home and also transporting safely the patients to the hospitals.
Mm.
And these EMTs are also being used in the critical care units of the COVID wards and the COVID intensive care units now.
Mm.
Similarly, there's a demand in, as I mentioned, the healthcare support centers. So we are training a lot of non-healthcare call center executives, also retail executives, as healthcare call center executives, giving them some FAQs and what to answer based on the guidelines issued by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So these are the immediate need resources. In the long-term need, mid to long-term need, I think there is a need for the more medical lab technicians, more EMTs, more medical, more phlebotomy technicians, more geriatric aides, home health aides, the general duty assistants. So these are some of the key profiles that are in high demand for future. And we need to really scale up the capacity of trainings for healthcare, particularly in these trades, and not just these allied health and support workers, but of course, the number of medical colleges need to be increased. The government already have plans to convert the district hospitals to teaching hospitals and build medical colleges to scale up the number of MBBS seats and the post-graduation seats in India. The same applies to nursing. And as I mentioned, India is not just supplying healthcare resources for the country. They are the largest supplier of healthcare resources for the world. So we need to look at the global demand and scale up our healthcare training capacities in India.
Definitely. And I think besides this, also another issue could be, like you said, in the rural areas, addressing those needs like primary healthcare center needs in the rural areas. Maybe there the handling of the situation could be quite different from what happens in the urban areas and bigger towns and cities. So when we look at this complete scenario, there is also probably this would be my last point where I would like to learn more from you. Today we have a very interesting mix of technology and healthcare professionals, which is, let's say, starting from the doctors to the healthcare support staff. And on the other hand, we have technology like right from the app from where you can book vaccination slot to teleconsulting. And then the other side, you have all these AI, ML and very advanced technologies. So how do you see the future of healthcare skilling going forward? Do you have any, is there something you can share with us so that we get to understand more about this?
Absolutely, Madhur. I think it's a very, very pertinent point that you have raised. So healthcare is going to see a big rise in future skills. And these future skills are mostly technology based, because healthcare has traditionally been delivered through human touch. Right. And 80 or 90% of that delivery was through human touch. But now the consumer is changing. Consumer wants different needs. Like, for example, if food is being delivered at home from various restaurants through apps like Swiggy and Zomato, and similarly, the banking is done on your mobile. Not just that, I think people are marrying online through Shadi.com and BharatMatrimony.com. And we are also seeing a big change because of this pandemic has really taught us a lesson that you can also deliver healthcare at a distance. It is not, it is definitely close to reality, and that we have seen through teleconsulting and various other roles. So with this, I think there'll be a lot of data gathering online. What I mean is there will be huge data that is available, which gives a scope for big data. When there is a scope for big data, then obviously there is a scope. So the big data is driven not just by these teleconsultations and the remote monitoring of patients. The big data is also driven through other areas like health insurance. Now you see, Ayushman Bharat is the largest health insurance scheme in the world if it is implemented. So the universal healthcare for almost 1.3 billion population. That means if you have to implement an health insurance of such a large scale as a universal healthcare scheme, obviously you need a lot of digitalization. Right. That means there's a lot of electronic medical records that will be built by hospitals. When you have electronic medical records, there's a huge digital data. When you have large digital data and claims, then obviously there is a scope for medical coding and medical billing. So medical coding and medical billing industries are also big in India, but we are servicing the US healthcare, the European healthcare, and also the healthcare outside India through the medical coding and billing. But with Ayushman Bharat, I think we will also need a lot of coders that will code for India, the Indian hospitals. So a lot of medical billing happens digitally now. And a lot of the the discharge summaries will be in a digital mode. So there will be a large number of electronic medical data available. This leads to the data mining, then the data storage. Then you will see the machine learning applying on the data, then artificial intelligence coming into play. If Indian data is actually analyzed, because this is a different sect and race, right? Our Indian race is different. Whatever the data analysis and AI that is applied globally today in healthcare is non-Indian data. So our diseases are unique. Our genetic composition is unique. I think this is leading to a much bigger technologically driven jobs in healthcare, be it healthcare data science, healthcare AI, medical coding, medical billing. These are some of the future roles, and also telehealth coordinators, which I mentioned in the a while ago, and electronic medical record technicians. This is what we see in healthcare. So you'll have large scale IT departments that manage the hospital IT infrastructure going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very neat and clear picture of, I can visualize how, these are going to take shape in the coming maybe months and years. So besides all this we discussed, is there something else you would like to share from our platform with our audience?
Yes, I think I have a message for all the students who are looking for careers. I think healthcare is a wonderful opportunity area. And don't think that healthcare is all about doctors and nurses. They sit on the top of the pyramid, but healthcare is driven by multiple other roles. You have healthcare managers who add value to the administrative and the quality and the financial and technological cycles of hospitals. So not just the clinical cycles, there are multiple other cycles, and many graduates can contribute in that area. Then also, as I mentioned, there's a huge short supply of healthcare resources, particularly the nurses, the allied health and healthcare support workers. So I would actually ask the youth of India to choose healthcare careers, and particularly the rural youth where the unemployment is high. I would request them to join healthcare roles and take up the jobs. It is not just about saving lives. You are actually have a pride of serving the nation. And we have seen that pride during the recent pandemic. So please come forward and join healthcare skill development programs. And we look forward to see a lot of youth showing aspiration towards healthcare. And I'm sure it's such a great opportunity to serve the nation.
Yes. Yeah, that's a wonderful message to all the young people who are watching this. Yes, this is one of the most needed services right now in India. And also, as Dr. Srinivas was saying, it has many other advantages of a fulfilling career if you take it forward in the right way. So on this note, I wish to thank Dr. Srinivas, and along with you, I think we from NSN would like to thank all the frontliners, all the medical people who are helping us live our lives, in the way we want to live, taking care of our loved ones. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot for skilling so many of them to help us live this way. And we look forward to be in touch with you. Thank you so much, Dr. Srinivas.
Thank you very much, Madhvi. Thank you very much to you and Team NSN Skills. Thank you.
So friends, I hope you found this interview very useful, and the conversation we had must have really helped you in learning about the industry, about the healthcare industry in particular here. So I would request you to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the bell icon, and look forward to many such conversations which will help you learn about various industry sectors. So please don't wait, go ahead and click the bell icon, subscribe to our channel, and also please spread the word among your friends, relatives, family members, etc. Telling them about the importance of skilling, and get back to us by commenting, sharing your views, your questions, your opinions in the comment section here, and use the description box also to learn more about skilling, about the initiatives that are taken from NSN. I'm so glad you're with us. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best, good health, happiness, and be safe. Thanks a lot.